As per the last video in this series, I went over how I completely remodeled an entire core area of my game, and while it looks and feels great to explore now, I wasn't content, and I thought I could give other areas in the game a similar treatment. So, here we are in the Deep Forest. The Deep Forest is a small map that the player will only explore a handful of times. There's no real secrets, or too much to interact with. The story places them here, and it's up to the player to move on from here. In its current state, it's pretty straightforward. The player is drawn to these glowy objects, but only one at the rest of this massive tree can be interacted with, showing the tree is able to communicate and beckons us to gather all of his missing sprites. So we do so and get a lot of conversation out of him before moving on with the rest of the game. We will return here briefly yet again, but I'll talk about that when it comes up. At a first glance, this level is pretty solid. It's not an incoherent mess like the Ruins map in the prior video was, but it's also lacking in some sort of magnificence. It doesn't quite ooze the world of magic that I would like it to. This forest spirit is a big old tree, but we can do better. So let's get to work. Many of the trees in Odyssey were drawn up pretty early in development. I'm pretty excited to reimagine more of them in the future. The forest spirit is the only NPC that can be interacted with in this entire part of the game, so it's really important that the player have a great impression of him when they first see him. I wanted to create a tree that spoke of its age at a first glance, so I gave him massive coiling and winding roots. These roots stretch now all across the level, showing how truly deep this spirit is ingrained with his thickets. When drawing, I really just let the shapes form themselves, including the deep recess near this tree's heart. I then cooked up a simple green effect that matched the sprites, and I thought I would let players begin to anthropomorphize him themselves. Whether this could be the tree's mouth or heart, it's up for debate. I drew these little viney tails on him too, which I thought could glow up to add more magic to his character. Actually, I was heavily inspired by RuneScape's magic tree, so I can't claim full credit for this idea. To make the level even more interactive, once you help the tree spirit by collecting his sprites, the forest comes more alive. As small dancing sprites begin appearing all over the level, a raining essence also falls from the canopy of the spirit. And to top off all the interactivity, a collectible ingredient the player can also use later in the game appears, a plant called Chill Leaf. Overall, this small little level has boomed in terms of sights to see, and how direct player actions have made the area more beautiful. Great! But remember how I said we'd be coming back to revisit this area in the story? After the player returns via the plot, they'll talk to the spirit again. But this time, after hearing what he has to say, the player will have a chance to ask his own questions about much that he has learned. The dialogue is of course all optional, but it will give players a chance to control dialogue a bit more and learn more about the world if they so choose.
Paimon was pleasant and jovial. The voice of summer he was. I adored his visits to my forest, as did all spirits. His size was great, but his gentleness never broke even the strayest fledgling brands. Paimon was the earth's patron, powerful and mighty, like the rocks. It was by his metal that Dremid'ir ever took shape.
I do suppose that's about it for this video, but I'll be seeing you next time. And I will see you next time. Okay, later.